G'day everyone, welcome to Shooting the Breeze with Lady Liberty Australia. I am Lady Liberty Australia, or Kate Fantanel, and I am here in the United States of America. I finally escaped the tyranny of Australia. I have moved to San Antonio, Texas. So excited to be here. I am still doing the legal action challenge in my home state of Western Australia against the gun laws. That is something I have been working on since I've been here, along with my new job. And tonight I am so blessed to be joined by one of my mates in the Liberty community over here. I met him last year online. I haven't met in person, but I'm dying to go up to visit him because he lives in Detroit, and I've always wanted to go there because I am a mad Eminem fan. I'm not ashamed of it. He's been one of the influences in my life. So I'm so excited to bring my mate onto the show. He was the host of Buds and Reality podcast, which was the #1 Liberty podcast in Detroit. So without further ado, I'll just put my headphones on and bring him into the chat. I'm hoping I'm not going to boomer it tonight. I always boomer it. Here we go. Here he is, Sean Collins. How the bloody hell are ya?
I am great, and thank you for having me on. This is awesome. I've been on hiatus for quite some time, actually. And so it's been well over a month since I've done any type of podcast. I haven't done my own podcast in a couple months, but I haven't been on anybody's show in well over a month. So thank you for, dragging me out of the woodworks of the things of whatever it may be. And I this is awesome.
This is awesome. I'm so excited to have you on my show. You had me on your show, and I just had such a great chat with you. We went into a lot of issues, especially the gun laws in Australia, which I want to talk to you about tonight. But just before we went live, we had a little bit of a brief chat about Blood of Tyrants. Now, just so you know, I am here working for Blood of Tyrants, where Dan Taxation is their Thurman. He's brought me over here. We've already been doing some great work. And you said that he wanted to sponsor your show, but there's an issue with getting Blood of Tyrants wine in Michigan.
Yeah. So the story goes, I had reached out to him and been like, hey, you want to sponsor this show or whatever? I got a good following, this could be a great working relationship. And he was like, damn, I would love to do that, but Michigan is one of the states that I have a hard time sending booze to. You have to have special licensing and blah, 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 blah. So like, I obviously have this stuff. Well, I had this stuff. I mean, this is long empty by now.
Yes, cheers. Mine's empty too.
As a matter of fact, I drank this whole bottle on a show.
You're the same as me. I drank this on a show too, I think. The tree of liberty must be watered from to time with the blood of tyrants is
Amen.
the quote from Thomas Jefferson on this bottle. It's a nice drop.
Right. That's right. And he sent me the Tears of Tyrants too, which was the white wine. The lighting is not showing that too well right now. But the fact of the matter is they really didn't have the licensing or something like that to send booze here to Michigan. And 70% of my listeners were from Michigan. So like it was not going to be a good working relationship. And I feel bad. And I'm so thankful. You guys, if you're watching, your wine was awesome. I definitely enjoyed it. I do enjoy wine. I want more of it, please. And thank you. If you can send it to my house undercover like you did before. It was weird. It had to be like so undercover. It was wrapped in like all kinds of tape and shit. Like they had to hide it.
Well, they also have, I don't know if you've tried this. This is their Blood of Tyrants Liquid Freedom Energy Tea. So no alcohol in this. So that we should be able to post to you. This is like having a cup of coffee, but without the shakes, and it's all natural ingredients. So, and it's also a good mixer with JD's. We've tried that already.
Oh, I like that.
Or maybe Jameson too, because I know you're a big Jameson drinker.
I just planned a shot while your intro was on. I for this, of course.
So, what's going on up in Michigan? I haven't been there yet. I was here last year doing a big Liberty tour. I went to Pork Fest, I went to Freedom Fest, I went to the Libertarian National Convention, where I met so many incredibly inspirational people in the Liberty community here. What's been going on in Detroit, and why did you start your Buds and Reality podcast back in the day?
Oh man, so a lot of things are actually happening in Michigan right now that are not good. They because what happened was the Republicans had won the legislature, so the Democrats wanted to pass a bunch of shit before they parted ways or whatever, and a lot of it was Second Amendment related. So no more printed guns, 3D printers, stuff like that. They're not having that here. Ghost guns, whatever you want to call them. But at the end of the day, the government has no right to tell you how you can or cannot defend yourself. They don't. As a matter of fact, for all these people be like, well, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and blah, 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 and it all sounds great, especially to people from other countries who don't necessarily have those things. Those things have never protected us, ever. Never have they protected us citizens. And I could go back to even like Lysander Spooner. I'm a big Lysander Spooner guy. Are you familiar with him at all?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so he wrote a book called No Treason, the Constitution and No Authority. And that book was published in 1867, right? And our country came to fruition, so we've been told, in 1776, and so not even 100 years later, you have this old timer going, hey, I didn't sign this, I didn't consent to this, and I don't agree to it, and I'm not obligated to pay for your nonsense. So there was obviously some sort of problem right off the rip, to where somebody had to write a book saying your Constitution is null and void, pretty much. And the fact of the matter is that the Constitution, the way it's written, actually nullifies its own self. Like, if you're really to break it down, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the wording in that nullifies its own self to the point where, is it even an agreement within the people and the government at all? And that's the $1 million question, because in my own personal heart and mind, I want to believe that our founding fathers were onto something, and they were very right about a lot of things, about don't give up your power to a two-party system or it's going to be a disaster. Hello, anyone? You know what I mean? But you saw some stuff outside of the United States. Now, in the United States, we do have this Constitution and Bill of Rights, but it's protected them more than it's protected us. The people have never been able to make amendments to that. Only they have, But in Australia, where you came from, did you even have something like that in writing that was, quote unquote, supposed to protect you guys as people?
Well, our constitution, the Australian Constitution, does not give any rights to the people. It's specifically written to give powers to the government and devolve the powers between the state and territory government and our federal government. There is no rights prescribed to the people in our document at all. We have no free speech rights, and they're trampling all over whatever rights of those we've been trying to keep at the moment. They brought in new hate speech laws in Australia. So I couldn't even wear my Blood of Tyrants top in Australia, because the laws are, if someone takes offense or considers that offensive in any way, so their feelings, they can take me to court under the hate speech laws. This is how far Australia has fallen. And that's why I know there's lots of conversations here, especially amongst the libertarian community, about the Bill of Rights and your constitution, but at least you have something. And that's been so helpful for your gun groups with the Second Amendment. You have that in writing. We don't even have the right to defend our lives with firearms or anything, pepper spray. We cannot defend ourselves in Australia at all. And I remember on your show, I spoke about that. And then one of the videos that you cut afterwards just went bunta on social media because people can't even believe it. But that's the reality of Australia at the moment.
That video you spoke about is has well over 13,000 views on TikTok and YouTube. That's by far the biggest video I've ever put out on any platform ever, by far. Like, my shows haven't even been listened to that much. Like, I've never had a show that has been listened to 13,000 times. The best show I ever put out had about 2,200 views or listens or whatever you want to call them. You know what I'm saying? So that clip in particular really struck a nerve with a lot of people, and most of them were here in the States. It's hard to tell who's commenting from where or whatever, but they're like, wow, you know what I mean? Because you guys in Australia have literally no right to defend yourselves. If somebody came into your home to, do harm or whatever it may be, you're still not legally allowed to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's insane to me. That is absolutely asinine. Like, look, if you show up on my property unwelcome, not even in my house, if you show up on my lawn unwelcomed and are causing a problem, you're going to be met with some serious resistance, and I'm probably going to be protected by a court of law. Maybe not if they were out in my yard, but if they were in my house, I'm protected by a court of law. And that's the thing, like, property rights here in the United States are null and void. Pretty much somebody could come and drive up on your lawn and do burnouts in your grass and tear it all up or whatever. And you kind of just have to let them do it because property rights are nothing. Or they might get a slap on the wrist with some destruction of property charge and get a little bit of probation, a little bit of fines or whatever like that, But back in the day, literally, we're talking, 50, 60, 70 years ago, if you were on somebody's property unwelcomed and they drew their firearm on you, you better have some good legs on you or you're going to get a bullet in the ass.
Well, it's interesting.
Protect those people back then.
It's interesting today. That's the 28th of April in Australia. They're from the future. So good morning to those in Australia who are tuning in. Today is actually the anniversary of the Port Arthur massacre in Tassie. And that was the event that the governments used at the time to change the culture of gun owning community in Australia. So that's when they brought in the resolution that we cannot use firearms for self-defense under any circumstances. So today, 29 years ago, is when the governments used that tragedy by an offender who was known to police and he had mental health problems. The same story we hear here. That was the incident that was the catalyst to change Australia's gun laws. And it's just gone downhill since then. And that's how they got away with how they handled the early 2020s and everything they did to us, the people, during that time, which I think we spoke about on your show, just the tyranny of Australia. And you couldn't even believe half the stuff I was saying. I remember you were very shocked.
Well, I remember, like, I knew Australia was an abomination after COVID or post-COVID or whatever you want to call it. I knew that. But some of the stuff that you were telling me was like, and coming from one of the worst lockdown states in the United States during COVID, like, let me put it into perspective for you guys. During COVID, California had the absolute worst lockdowns. Then it was Michigan, where I'm at. I'm in Detroit, Michigan. And then a close third was New York. Those three places had the absolute abomination of all things that were rights happening. Like our governor of our state during COVID stopped us from buying seeds to grow our own food. You could not buy seeds to grow your own food during COVID. You could not do it. That is a fact. That happened. And then the craziest part was of all this, mind you, I'm a big fan of marijuana. I love weed. I smoke a lot of it. I use a lot of it. They don't call me buds for no reason. Okay. But the pot shops were open. The party stores were open. You could buy booze. You could buy lottery tickets. You could buy weed. You couldn't go to church. You couldn't buy seeds to grow your own food. You couldn't go to properties that you owned up north, because here in Michigan, I'm in Southeast Michigan. It's very busy here. It's a concrete jungle. But then a lot of people from this area have property up in northern Michigan where it's a lot more quiet. And they were telling people they couldn't even travel to their own property during all of this. Like it got very serious. And that's actually where my podcast started. Kind of. Because I was very vocal on social media. I was saying this isn't right. What they're doing isn't right. XYZ is bad because of ABC or whatever it may be, right? I'm doing that. And in the meantime, I'm pissing off my family. I'm pissing off my friends. I'm pissing off anybody who is just in this mind frame that we need to do whatever they're doing. Like, you can't tell people they can't grow food. You can't do that. That is like something that is beyond overreach. Like you're telling somebody they can't grow their own food and telling them they can't go to work at the same time. How the fuck do you think you're supposed to support yourself? Sorry for the language. I'm sorry.
No, that's a free speech show. Say whatever you
I'm
like.
a middle-aged construction worker. There's a lot of fucks that are coming out of here. That's what I do in real life. But that was the other thing, is I was told I couldn't go to work. I paint houses for a living. That's what I do. And they told me I was not essential. They said your job isn't essential. They stopped stores from selling paint. Thank God there was a couple that literally stayed open and said, yeah, no, come get your paint. And they did that. But I did. I closed my business down for 3 weeks. 3 weeks I closed my business down. After the builder came to the job and said, the bitch has spoken, you can't work anymore. And I'm like, can we finish the day? No, you got to go. That's what we got from the builder. Mind you, this is a new construction house. Nobody lives there. Nobody lives there. We're the only people there. We're the painters. We're one of the last people in your house when you're getting a new build done. Nobody's there. It's just a group of us guys. No, you're not allowed to be there. It got so great, and it radicalized me. Like, I was already radicalized. I was already a libertarian at that point. But that radicalized me beyond belief, because they tried to tell us how we can and cannot support ourselves and our families. And that's like, I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you're digging trenches. I don't care if you're flipping burgers at McDonald's. I don't care if you're doing any type of work. Your job is essential. Your job is essential to you yourself as an individual. You have to bring home money in order to pay your rent, your lights, your gas, your car, whatever it may be. And they're telling you, wait, no, you can't do that. You can't support yourself. You're not essential. No. That was government overreach beyond recognition. They should never be forgiven for that, especially given the fact that they're the ones who brought the virus here in the first place.
Yes, I've got one of my regular. I'm getting all tongue-tied tonight because I'm hearing myself in this headphone and it's throwing me off. Dilmaz 85. He's one of my regular listeners from Australia. Good morning. He said, I was told I was essential. So I worked through, didn't get free money or a holiday. And now I have to pay for the inflation caused by the money printer. Now, I've been following some of your rants about inflation and they just get me fired up every time. Can you please explain? Because this is the other problem that we have in this space is explaining to people how economics work and how the money supply is controlled and how fiat is a fake system. So can you please give us one of your best rants about inflation?
I will give you the best rant ever right now. Between 2020, when Donald Trump was still president, and 2021, when Joe Biden took over, 80% of the money ever printed in the United States history since the birth of the Federal Reserve in 1913, because there was money before the Fed, 80% of the money ever printed since 1913 was printed between Donald Trump and Joe Biden in 2020 and 2021. And then all of a sudden, prices of gas went to $5.50 a gallon here in Detroit. And I know it got worse in other places, and then people are still talking, oh, the price of eggs, dude, are you kidding me? The price of eggs back when that was going on was even worse. And that's the thing, like you put money into something, right? And then you just keep pouring water on it and you keep pouring. Thomas Massey actually did this in a live congressional hearing. He stole somebody's glass of iced tea. It was like, yo, this is your dollar. And then I'm going to pour some water in here and I'm going to dilute it. And he was explaining the dollar at that point. And he hit the nail on the head. But like the fact of the matter is that the Federal Reserve, with the help of the United States government or wherever you are, like wherever you are in the world, like, I believe Australia got IMF World Bank money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct on that?
Mm-hmm.
So that was their central bank. But then in Europe, you have BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, all that shit, and they were printing money too. And all these countries were printing money and we were seeing all this inflation. And instead of blaming the actual problem, they're like, well, it's whoever's in office's fault. So the Republicans here in the United States were like, oh my God, the Biden inflation. The Biden inflation has done this to us, and look at what's going on. I'm like, wait a minute here. Trump's the one who put out the first set of the stimulus checks, that we got. And it just didn't stop. It never stopped. And it was, and neither side are going to take credit for it. The Democrats are going to blame the Republicans. The Republicans are going to blame the Democrats. And I'm sure in Australia, the Labor Party was blaming I don't even know what party there is.
Liberal Nationals, yes. That's our Conservative Party, but they've merged into one beast now. It's hard to tell them apart.
But the endless printing of money has everything to do with inflation. It has nothing to do with supply and demand or anything like that. It has to do with them devaluing your dollar, whether it be like, what's the Australian dollar?
It's the dollar-do or just the Australian dollar.
So the dollar-do and the American dollar have gone down astronomically because of policies that they put in place, pretty much. But they want to blame you for being, an Australian or an American or whatever it may be. Like, it was so wild. Like that whole COVID radicalized me beyond anything like anybody could ever even imagine. I was a libertarian up till COVID. And then
when you became an anarchist? Yeah, same.
Yeah. And I became a full-blown anarchist, and I was one of those people in 2020. Oh my God, hang on. I'm going to show you something fun. I had this sign in my yard. Joe.
Oh, yes.
2020.
Yep. And with Spike Cohen as the VP.
Who Spike is absolutely amazing.
Mm.
Her, not so much.
Mm.
Her, not so much. She had some really good ideals out there or whatever, but like at the end of the day, she was not very nice to Spike. This is one thing I learned is during 2020 and all that, I did not have my podcast yet. I did not have people to talk to outside of like people bitching on Facebook, right? And I have this podcast, and they're like, well, Joe Jorgensen was cool, but she was not a good person, and she was not nice to Spike. And I was like, oh, wow. And that's when I really figured out, like, maybe you shouldn't be just voting gold no matter what, or blue no matter what, or red no matter what. Like, you shouldn't vote like that because your candidate might not be the best person for that job. And we saw that in 2024 here in the United States.
Mm.
You know, and don't get me wrong, Chase Oliver is a really nice guy. Very good dude. I've actually smoked pot with Chase Oliver, to be quite honest. And like he's a nice guy. But there were certain things that I could not get behind, and a lot of the Libertarian Party could not get behind. And that's where the problem was. And the same thing was with Joe Jorgensen. The same thing was there. So it's, you know, it shouldn't be like vote no matter what candidate, you know, your people put out there because they might not be the best,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we're seeing that here in 2024. The Libertarian Party in the United States in 2025 is in very big trouble right now.
I did see that a few of the states lost ballot access after the last presidential campaign. But you're right. I experienced similar things in Australia and the Libertarian Party down there, like not the right people running for office. And then you have hidden agendas, and then there's all the ego stuff going on. And it got to the point for me where I just thought I could achieve so much more for liberty as an individual outside of minor party. We call them minor parties in Australia, outside of minor party politics. And I feel that that's an important message is what can you do as an individual to advance liberty? And one thing that you've done, like me, is started your podcast. So what actually made you a libertarian to begin with? Tell me your journey from libertarianism to anarchy.
George W. Bush. It's all his fault. It really is. So I was a staunch neoconservative Southern Baptist boy from the church. You were going to hell if you voted Democrat ever. That's just what you're taught in the church from, you know, from 30, 40 years ago at this point. My journey, you know, I was very disheartened. My best friend in the entire world went to the military, right? And he did that not necessarily on his own accord. He got into some legal trouble, and they gave him an ultimatum to either go to the military, go to jail. He took the route of going to the military, and then from there on out, he just kept re-enlisting. He liked it. He really did. He liked it a lot. It gave him structure and stuff like that. But you know, at the end of the day, he figured out that, you know, what he was going to war for was not what he was told, you know. And I actually feel terrible for him because he had listened to my show with Scott Horton a couple years ago and was like, I want to read this book. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if you want to do that. And then he read it and he's like, I'm going to burn all my shit. And I was like, please don't burn your shit, dude. You know, because he found out the truth about why we were in the Middle East in the first place after 9/11, blah, blah, blah. You know, we could do a whole show on that. But the fact of the matter is that I knew Bush was wrong. I knew he lied to us. I actually had a 9/11 truther buddy who was in my ear going, yo, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And then finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave this life. I'm going to leave it. I don't want to be a Republican anymore. I'm not going to be a Bush guy. Like, this is insanity. But I'm not a Democrat because I love guns. I love my protection. I love the fact that I can, you know, defend myself at any given moment if need be. And the Democrats are number one against guns. They here in the United States, the Dems want to take your guns. They want you to have either a spatula and a dildo to defend yourself or a six shooter. That's what they want you to have. You can have a six shooter, which a six shooter is a revolver with six bullets. That's what they want you to have. That's what they think is appropriate.
It's a bit more than what we can have.
But that's not what shall not be infringed.
Yes, you're right.
That's not what that means. And even you, as a person who just came here from another country, have the right to own whatever you want. Why? Why do you have those rights? Because they come from the Almighty God up above, not from some piece of paper that the government shits on every single day and every single moment of their life. You have the inherent right to defend yourself by God, not by them in DC. And I don't care if you came from Australia or not. As a matter of fact, I hope you came here from Australia and bought yourself a fully auto AK-47 and an AR-15 and an AR-10 and a 50 cal. And I hope they're all fully automatic because guess what? Welcome to America.
I haven't bought a gun yet. I haven't had time, but I have been shopping online. There's a website that you can buy guns off of people without the state needing to be involved, and that's legal here. I'm just like so excited because in Australia, if I open that website, I would be going straight to jail. So I think I've got Stockholm syndrome in a way, or I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but then I remember I'm in America and I have the Second Amendment. I also have the First Amendment. So I'm just like a little kid at Disneyland.
Yeah, but a lot of right wingers are going to tell you that you don't have rights because you came from Australia. And that pisses me off more than anything because I don't care if you came from Australia. I don't care if you came from Mexico. I don't care if you came from Guatemala, Canada, Greenland, Iceland, wherever you came from. You have rights as a human being from God to defend yourself. As a matter of fact, the Bible speaks of self-defense. God wanted you to trade in your garments for swords. What else do you need to say to that? What else do you even need to say to that? Like, God wants you to defend yourself. He wants you to defend your family. He wants you to defend your territory. And governments don't have that right. Government is so far overplayed and overreached, and even they're given way too much credit. Could you imagine what would happen? Like what is the total population of Australia?
I think it's about 26 million now.
So 26 million. Okay. So we'll say 2% of 26 million or 1%. We'll say 1% of 26 million is what? 2.6 million?
I'm not good at maths. Please don't put me on the spot.
Well, I'm just saying. So you get that 1% on Australia's government's doorstep to say, we're not going to do this. And guess what? They're not doing that. And the same thing happens here in America. There's 330 million people here in America, give or take. Put 1% of DC's doors on DC's doorstep and say we're not doing this. Guess what? We're not doing this. There's strength in numbers. And it takes a community, and it takes, it sounds very radical to a lot of people. It does. Like, oh, you're just going to go take over the government? I'm not going to say yes or no, but I'm going to say this. They're not going to tell you what to do when there's only a couple 100,000 of them and there's millions of you. They're not going to do shit because they can't. You come to the United States, this is what I say to people all the time. They're like, oh my God, China's going to come get us. Russia's going to come get us. All these countries are going to come get us. There are 400 million guns in the United States. You're going to find out why we are the largest militia ever put together. Please come here and make trouble. Russia, come on. Come on. China, come on. Anybody who wants to fuck around is going to find out. You're going to find out why we are the biggest militia in the world. And this is why the Second Amendment is so important. It has nothing to do with, oh, we need to have our guns to protect ourselves from bad guys and this, that, or the other. The Second Amendment was put in place to protect you from the government, the tyrants. It has nothing to do with protecting yourselves from your neighbor. Should you protect yourself from your neighbor? Yeah, you should. You should protect yourselves from anybody. You should protect yourselves from your own mother and father. You don't know. You don't know anything from anyone. But you're definitely not going to tell us how to defend ourselves. You're not going to do that. We're not having that here in the United States. And even if you came here seeking asylum, you have those same rights because they're given to you from God, not from DC.
Amen. And this is the crazy thing that I think I have been quite affected in Australia. So we're a big island nation. We have China as part of our neighbor. We are literally sitting ducks because most of us don't have guns. Those of us do have guns have very specific reasons why we can use them. And if we use it for the wrong purpose that we're licensed for example, taking a hunting rifle out when we've only applied for a permit to use it at the range, we can lose our guns. This is how controlled we are in Australia. But the argument is we are an island nation of only 26 million people. Wouldn't it be smarter if we took a leaf out of America's book and at least had people with firearms who, in the event that we are invaded, we can defend ourselves and our nation if we want to get all patriotic about it. But even then, the government says, no, we've got our military. We'll just keep putting more money into the military budget and you just sit at home and don't worry about it. We will keep you safe. That's what I try and had to deal with in Australia, is this mentality that the government is there to protect you and will keep you safe. Is it similar here?
They're pushing the same exact narrative. They're saying, why do you need guns? The police are going to protect you, whatever, which at this point, the Supreme Court of the United States has agreed multiple times that the state doesn't have to protect you. The police doesn't have to protect you. It's not their job. They literally have come out in multiple Supreme Court cases and said, it's not the police's job to protect you, but at the same time, want to disarm you. It's egregious. It's foul. It's vile. These people, you're telling me right now that the people who are responsible for slaughtering over 250 million people throughout history, which I'm talking about the United States government, the people who are responsible for slaughtering 250 million plus people are trying to tell you how to defend themselves or yourself. That's not how this works at all. Not even a little bit. It's absolutely insanity. And actually, I see somebody in the chat. New York has more police officers than the Australian Army. New York is an abomination. Let me tell you something about New York. Free Dexter Taylor. Do that. Dexter Taylor is sitting in Rikers Island for building firearms in his own home, not selling them, not doing anything wrong or anything, not buying anything illegal. And yet he's sitting in Rikers for Second Amendment violations that he did nothing wrong to. New York is a piece of shit. Obviously, Abina Darka was his judge. And his judge said, Abina Darka, his judge, literally said the Second Amendment is allowed in her courtroom. And it flies because of maritime laws.
Okay.
Maritime laws can separate the states from certain things, and certain states can do certain things or whatever. And he's sitting in Rikers Island, which is a nasty prison in New York. It's vile. It's a bad place to be, for building firearms that he never sold, never gave, never shot, to anybody, never shared with anyone, anything. And he's in prison.
So how does some governments like in Michigan get away with banning ghost guns or 3D printed guns? We can't even look up 3D printed blueprints on our computers in Australia. They're banned or they get flagged, and we will get arrested for even looking at a blueprint of a firearm. In Western Australia, as part of the new gun laws there, you can't even have schematic drawings of any gun, which when you buy a new gun, you're shown how to replace parts, clean it, all of that. You can't have like the little booklet that comes with the gun. That's illegal material now. This is how bad it's gotten down there. So how does state governments like Michigan, when you have the Second Amendment, get away with infringing on that when it specifically says shall not be infringed?
Very easily. The people allow it. The people allow it. Never forget, here in the United States, people died over a 2% tax on tea. A tariff, actually. It was a tariff. And you have people in the United States cheering on tariffs because it's going to save our country and stop us from income tax. I'm still paying income tax. As a matter of fact, I just did my taxes. I had to take an extension to do them because I'm self-employed. But like, it's because we allow it. We allow this shit to happen. People used to get tarred and feathered for taxation. People used to get hung in the streets for treason, for crying out loud. You could be literally, there was a law, and God damn it, I don't know if I can pull it up right now. There was a law here in the United States, and it probably still is, but nobody cares, that if you commit treason, you're to be hung in the streets in front of your peers. Guess what happens in the United States every day? Every day. Treason. Treason, treason, treason. How? How is that happening? Well, there's certain lobby groups that lobby our government into giving them their way, whether it be other countries. I don't want to say too much. I promised I wouldn't. There's certain countries that own our government through blackmail, and they get their way through lobby, whether it be China or Israel, or whether it be big pharma or big oil or corporations or anything like that. But literally, it's written in our rules of law. Anybody who takes money or foreign bribes should be charged with treason. But you have countries like China and Israel and Saudi Arabia and other countries that are just in the pockets of our politicians. And it's okay. It's very okay. Quote unquote. I don't think it's okay. I think it's insane. Like, what would happen in Australia if, say, a country like Israel was funding over 90% of your politicians? What would happen in Australia if that was happening?
It's already happening, but it's more the Chinese influence that we have down there. They buy 80% of the iron ore that we export from Western Australia. They own a lot of land, including out in the outback. Some of the big stations are all owned by foreign ownership. Now, I believe if you have the money and you want to buy property wherever it is in the world and you do a deal with the owner of that property, that's between you two. I don't think anyone else should be involved. Very, very basic. But in Australia, it's a lot of Chinese influence on our government.
Wow. Would you consider China the Israel of Australia?
it seems to be that way. They just seem to have so much influence, power. The Australian economy would collapse if we didn't have a resource deal with China. That's a fact. We wouldn't be able to survive. So we're reliant on a foreign government and a foreign country to keep our country going. When our country, because of what happened during the pandemic and ever since then, and I would say 1996, when they took our guns off of us, it's just been a fast decline into the point now that it's a communist country. The effective tax rate's about 60%, the highest tax on alcohol and tobacco in the world. We're having wars in the streets over cigarettes at the moment. Vapes are illegal. You can't get them without a prescription. Same with cannabis. You need a prescription for that. But a lot of companies won't let you be employed if you've got that on your medical records. So we're not free in Australia. And I know you've spoken about this before about even in America, it's not free because you need a license for everything. You need permission from the state for everything. So just how bad is it in Michigan where you are? How free would you say you are?
I'm not free at
Mm.
all. As a matter of fact, I'm self-employed. So not only do I have to pay a self-employment tax, I actually have to pay another tax on top of it for being self-employed. Like, it's insanity. Like, it's taxes upon taxes upon taxes. Like, uh, for instance, let me put it in perspective for you. Um, and how am I going to word this correctly? I guess. Uh, well, let me put it to you this way. My business, I paint houses, did very well in 2020. And guess who had to pay taxes out of their ass in 2020? And when I say like taxes out of my ass, I'm talking 48% of my income was taken from me. 48%. You want to talk about free?
Mm.
Well, free is a free market, a free economy. What I have to do just to stay in business, I have to carry licensing, liability insurance, which liability insurance I'm okay with because liability insurance actually covers the licensing part. It really does. So you're cutting out another middleman right there. Your liability insurance is going to cut out the middleman because your liability insurance, for instance, I'm a painter, they're not going to cover my painting company if I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Right?
Mm.
And that goes for any business across the board. Like, you're going to have to carry your insurance. Your insurance is not going to carry you because here in the United States, insurances have all the rights in the world to not carry your policy if they don't see fit to do so. They just don't. That's just the way it goes. So as long as I'm compliant to my insurance people, none of the rest should matter because my compliance to the insurance already shows that I know what I'm doing. But they're like, wait. You got to have a license and or some sort of certificate to do this, that, or the other. No. Liability insurance covers everything because they're not going to do it. And for the people who think that's bullshit, hey, go crash your car while you're on insurance and make a claim. And if they drop you, you can't do a goddamn thing about it. It's the same difference. You have to know how to drive in order for your insurance carrier. If you're somebody who has 5, 6, 7 accidents on your insurance record, nobody's going to insure you. Nobody. It's not going to happen here. It's not feasible. It's not happening. Sorry, not sorry. Same difference. It goes across the board.
Mm. I was also going to ask you, we talked about it a little bit, but these bloody tariffs that President Donald Trump keeps bringing in, dropping, changing his mind, whatever it is. What's your thoughts on President Donald Trump? And I know that there was deals done with the Libertarian Party over here about supporting him because he promised to free Ross, which he has done. So, what was your thoughts on the whole campaign and the Libertarian Party getting involved with him and also RFK Jr.?
Well, I voted for Trump in 2016. I did, because I was not a fan of Gary Johnson. I did not vote for Trump in 2020, and I didn't vote for anyone at all in 2024 because I'm done voting. But the fact of the matter is that tariffs are a tax on the consumer. Even as a business owner, my material costs have gone up 45%. We just took another 5% recently. My material costs have gone up 45% since 2020. Do you think I'm eating that? I'm not eating that. My client is. And it's not being an asshole or anything like that. That's just the way business works. Okay. As far as tariffs go, tariffs another tax on the consumer. And if people want to pay more money for services and goods, hey, I guess you got your guy. But the tariffs were also supposed to end income tax. Well, here I was just doing my taxes. So that was a lie. Donald Trump on paper, I'm not going to be retarded, okay? Donald Trump was a much better choice than Kamala Harris. Much better. Much better. It's not even close. But does that make it better? Does that make it better? It's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid for a hot minute till the blood spurt pops that shit off and it shows everything. Like, I don't know what to tell people. I was not a fan of I understand the coalition with the Libertarian Party and Donald Trump. I do understand it. I really do. I do. Am I on board with it? No. And do I think that the LP sold out? Yes, I do. Big time, actually. And I'll explain it like this. You were the party who was explaining why Republicans and Democrats were so bad. And then you're going to turn around and endorse the Republican. And then it gets even better. You have the Mises Caucus, who is in charge of the Libertarian Party, saying Israel's bad, what they're doing is bad, the Israel lobby is bad. And then you're going to endorse the biggest cuck for Israel? Because guess what, guys? Donald Trump has taken over $230 million from AIPAC. So, yeah, he's a cuck for Israel. I got the receipts, too. I'll send it to her. She can put them up on her stuff. Maria Madelson, the owner of the Denver Nuggets, gave Donald Trump $100 million. Look her up and tell you where her allegiance lies. None of the allegiances lie in America. They all lie in Israel. And it's a terrifying situation because so many people were duped into thinking this person was America first. We're gonna deport all the bad people. Like for somebody like you, his program should be terrifying. Like, are you here on a visa? Are you here on
Yes.
like
I'm
like
here on a working visa, but interestingly about that, so part of the condition of Australia going into Iraq with your mate George W. Bush was our Prime Minister at the time, John Howard, negotiated a special working visa for Australians in America as part of that deal. So we actually have quite a good visa program with America, specifically for Australians, that I've managed to get one of those visas. So, but I do look at the news and I see the deportations and the lack of due process. And I'm just hoping I'm a law abiding citizen here. I don't want to leave. I'm so grateful to be here. And I respect the fact that I'm in another country, but this is a country that I want to call my home. I align with the values so much more than where I'm from. But I am watching what he's doing and I'm just hoping for common sense and for people to really look at is how we want to handle the border problem, because I'm in Texas, San Antonio, right near the border, and there's a big issue here with the border crossing. So I'm trying to understand how everyone's feeling. But what's your view? Are you an open borders person, or what's your stance on all of this immigration? Because it is a huge issue.
I am a peaceful people should be able to move freely person. Um, but I'm also a person who thinks that that needs to be checked. Just because you say you're peaceful or I say I'm peaceful doesn't mean we're peaceful, right? So I believe in background checks to say, like, but it's a simple check. Like, you could be like, hey, this person's wanted in Guatemala. Okay, you can't come here. But then be like, hey, Miss Kate come here from Australia. She's not wanted anywhere. Get your ass in here and come on and hang out, you know? And that's where I'm at. It's a very simple check. It's not about like closing or opening borders or anything like that. I don't think any borders should be open for those reasons. But I'm also saying that, hey, if this person doesn't have a background of violence or whatever, come on in and join the workforce. But you're not getting free money.
Mm.
You know, it's one of those things. Because a lot of people that come here right now are getting thousands of dollars per month from my money.
Mm.
I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, the welfare state.
Yes.
You have to come in and work, and that's what I'm so happy to be doing for Blood of Tyrants. It's so exciting to be here. It was really hard, to be honest, leaving last time. I've just met so many incredible people here, and the values of the American people, like liberty, seems to be a part of your culture. And I know there's things going on, and there's always people trying to encroach on liberties, but because it's such a part of your story or history, the very character of Americans, it's given me hope. I feel there's more hope here. I know you might not be feeling like that, but can you see that at least you have that fabric? You do have a Bill of Rights. You do have more opportunity than my country to get your country back to be the libertarian place that the founding fathers designed it to be.
Oh, are you kidding me? This is the best goddamn place to be in the entire world. It's
Amen.
no, it's really not. Like, and you hit the nail on the head. Somebody like me coming from a place from where I came from, this is like gold. This is God. This is everything, right? To come here and have these things. But we have to fight and keep them the way they are. We can't just let people run amok because America is on its way to turning into Australia extremely fast and on a much faster pace than most people would like to admit. And so that's why there's people like me here going, hey, yes, America's still the best place in the world to be, but we have to keep it that way. Otherwise, it's going to be where Kate just escaped from. And we have to keep it that way. But we also need people like you who come here to be like, hey, we're not just going to come here and be comfortable. We're willing to fight for why we came here, you know, which is what we don't have here, especially where I'm at in Michigan. You know, I happen to live. Michigan has uh, the highest population of Muslims outside of Muslim countries. in Dearborn, Michigan, which happens to be 10, 15 minutes down the road from me. Do you think those people give a shit about what we're doing? They don't. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you something right now, and this is going to be a big turnoff for a lot of people, but this is the truth. A lot of the Muslim cultures go to places and destroy them and blame them on the culture that's there already, which is what's happening in Dearborn right now. You can go down Bourne Road in Dearborn, which is all Muslim. You can't even go down Warren Road without seeing a sign in English. Like it's all in Arabic. And it is destroyed. It's a foul place to be. Worse than the east side of Detroit, where all the crime is. You know, and that sounds bad, but I'm being very real right now. This is what's happening right now. And they do it all over the world. They're doing it all over the world. It's just happening here in Dearborn, Michigan right now. You can look it up. Anybody who's listening right now, look up Dearborn, Michigan. You're going to find that it has the highest Arabic population in the entire world outside of Arabic countries. And those areas are a disgrace and a disaster.
We've had this similar thing in Australia. We've got our federal election going on at the moment. There's been lots of signs, political campaigning signs in Arabic, because there are very built up populations. Western Sydney is one where a lot of people from those countries have moved into, and they've changed the culture. And this is the debate that they have in Australia, is assimilation, multiculturalism. It's not working anymore. And when you say things like that, you get called a racist. Now, I'm not going to lie, Australians, we have that undercurrent, but it's not from a place of hate. We're just very awkward people. We just love having a laugh at everyone. Everything's fair game. So it's not that we're saying things to be hateful. It's just part of our culture, the larrikin. That's how we are. We're convicts, so this is our sense of humour. But we're having the similar thing in Australia, and people are calling it replacement theory, where they're bringing in, we've had mass immigration, especially the last few years, to the point that we've got a housing crisis. The price of everything has gone up. We've brought in more people than we can house. I couldn't get a home in Australia. This is one of the reasons I've left. I couldn't get a house. When you line up to look at a place for rent, there's hundreds of other people lining up for that property. The price of rent is through the roof. So moving to a country here where the cost of living is still manageable, and I know that's something we still have to fight, but we do have a change in the country and the culture because of government policies when it comes to immigration. But if you say that, you get labelled a racist or xenophobic or whatever name you want to throw at people. Is it the same, like for what you just said there, is
It's
that a similar pushback you'll have?
Exact same. I am
Yeah.
a racist, anti-Semite piece of shit for half the same things I talk about. But it's only being true. But if we could take a second, my dogs are trying to kill each other upstairs. Can I just run upstairs?
Yes, I'll hold the fort. You go make sure your
they're
puppies, David Bowie.
David Bowie and Penny Lane are killing each other right now, and I need to deal with that. Oh my God. Hey, fuckers.
Thanks for everyone for tuning in. This is my first live show in San Antonio, Texas. I have moved here from Australia. I'm missing Australia so much. I'm still working on the WA Legal Action Challenge. Please watch my video that I put up yesterday that explains everything. It looks at the attacks and the things that have been said about me recently. And of course, the timeline for that is Thursday this week. I hope my lawyers are watching. I am meeting with them to get the written letter of opinion. I've only been given the verbal letter because of the urgent legal letter we had to send to the police commissioner, which of course bought us more time. That compensation scheme has been reopened, and they gave us the ability to include push button release and lever actions in that. So that did buy us some time. But I'm meeting with them Thursday for the full letter of opinion, where we can identify multiple challenges, class actions. Yes, we're looking at multiple class actions. So as soon as I get that advice, I'll be broadcasting it. And then I'm meeting with my King's Council on Monday next week to go through the next plan. So that's just an update for those of you watching from Australia. I'm fighting Western Australia's gun laws from here. Best place to be. I have the Second Amendment here. I still need to buy a gun. Oh, you're back.
I am back. You want to know what's funny? Is I went upstairs and they both looked at me like I was retarded. Like, what are you doing up here? And I'm like, you fuckers! I can't believe you guys couldn't even hear that above me, honestly. Because they were
Naughty
like,
puppies.
they're so loud. Well, David Bowie's 100 pounds. He's a big boy.
Wow.
And Penny Lane is like a very mini version of him. She's like 30 pounds, but she can hold her own. Trust me. She is.
Little women, we have lots of strength. Now, I did want to talk to you about this. I was sent you Land of the Free by Pennywise last night. You're a
Yes.
punk rocker like me.
Yes.
What's been your thoughts on the musicians in the punk space who used to be anti-establishment, anti-war, and they all seem to be now reading from the opposite script? Have you been just as disgusted and disappointed with how our scene has become bootlickers in such a short space of time?
What the fuck? Like, what happened to the punk movement? What happened to the metal movement? Like, all these bands, like, so I'm a Gen Xer, okay? And we had bands like Rage Against the Machine and Bad Religion and Pennywise and stuff like that. All this anti-establishment stuff and damn the man pretty much. And then all of a sudden COVID came through and was like, and they're all like, well, you gotta listen to the man and Rage Against the Machine of all people. Rage Against the Machine, fuck you, I won't do it.
Yeah.
We're only going to play shows for vaccinated people. They literally wrote songs about being anti-segregation, and now you want to segregate people? Like, and the same thing with the punk movement. Like, oh my God, Offspring. Offspring is a great one. They fired their drummer, their longtime drummer from when I was a kid. They were best friends forever. They fired him because he wouldn't take the COVID shot. And the worst part about that was, it wasn't like he was, and it doesn't even matter to be honest, but like, it wasn't like he was like, fuck that shot or whatever. The dude had allergies to what was in the vaccine. He couldn't take it. They fired him anyways. Dropkick Murphys, anti-Trump, whatever, anti-whatever, which is fine. Like, hey, man, if you're going to be anti-Trump, great. But you better be anti-fucking Harris, too, if you're claiming to be punk rock or anti-Biden or whatever. You better be anti-state. Like, don't be somebody in the music world to be like, oh, well, damn, the man in the system is bad. But, hey, you got to listen to these guys. These guys are okay. No. That's not how this works. As a matter of fact, Rage Against the Machine, fuck you. Thank you for ruining everything that I thought you were about for the past 30 plus years. I saw Rage Against the Machine in concert many times actually. But you want to know what? The first time I ever saw Rage was at a place called the State Theater in Detroit, and House of Pain in Cypress Hill opened up for them.
Cool.
This place is now called the Fillmore. It's not the State Theater anymore. But what I'm saying is that these people who have been telling us they're anti-establishment for however long are full of shit. They're lying. They did it. They showed us our colors. Like, music has been a big part of my life. Look, I got records behind me. I got records hanging up on the wall. Like, hang on a minute. Records behind me. Like,
Guitars.
guitar, you know what I'm saying? Like, music is a big part of my life, and a big part of how I look at politics. I can't even listen to Rage no more. I won't do it.
Mm.
But Pennywise, like, you shared that song and I sent you back. I was like, fuck Authority.
Yes.
That was another great one. But like, where did I feel like being healthy is the new punk rock.
Mm.
It's not about music or anything anymore. Like being a healthy individual, like health and fitness and really being anti-system, that's punk rock.
Yeah.
I don't even know, but that it burned. It still hurts. Like my heart hurts about Rage Against the Machine. My heart hurts about that. My heart hurts about Offspring, Green Day. Even though Green Day
Mm.
was always gay, Green Day, I don't understand how they got to be the epitome of punk rock because really they were not punk rock at all. By the time Dookie came out and that album like went and took all the album sales and stuff like that, that was the end of punk rock. That was the end. There was no more Minor Threat, Fugazi, the Germs, MC5, Iggy and the Stooges, all that stuff was gone. It was about this fake punk rock all of a sudden. And that's that. Like, ugh.
Yeah, I was disappointed with Rage Against the Machine too. I saw them in 2007, I think, at Big Day Out, which was one of our big Aussie music
Yes.
festivals, and they were just incredible. Like the energy and the anti-establishment message, it just was something. Like I still remember that day, and it was bloody 45 degrees Celsius. Very hot. And then you look and you see during the pandemic, they seem to whatever for a paycheck. Like their principles, their lyrics in their music, it doesn't add up with their actions. And I think that's been the most disappointing thing is that people will sell their principles for a paycheck. And I think that's what's happened in the music space.
I think that's what's happened in the Libertarian Party too, to be quite. I do.
Ooh.
I think that the principles have been sold out. When they endorsed Donald Trump, that was the end. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's a left libertarian or whatever." I'm not a libertarian at all, you guys. I'm an anarchist through and through. I don't vote. I don't participate in the election cycles. I'm done. But yeah, the Libertarian Party sold out as well. Like when the Libertarian Party endorsed Donald Trump, that was the same exact thing as Rage Against the Machine saying they would only play vaccinated shows. It was the same thing.
Mm.
You
What
know,
about the argument that it is a two-party system here? Same in Australia. I mean, there is slim chances that minor party politicians get elected in our federal election, particularly in the Senate, the upper house. So I had the pleasure of working for Senator David Leyonhjelm, who's the only Libertarian senator we've ever had. And unfortunately, the new iteration of the party here is they're conservatives. They're not pro-gun. That's why I had a big falling out with them. They wanted to disendorse me during my Senate campaign for running on a pro-gun campaign. And it's like, you can't call yourself the Libertarian Party of Australia if you're not pro-gun and 2A all the way, which I am. So that's the kind of culture in Australia. But the argument that I've had with some libertarians here is there's no room for a third party in the United States. So shouldn't the Libertarian Party be used as a vehicle to advance liberty however you can, even if that means sitting down and negotiating with terrorists to get at least one man free like we did with Ross?
I think the Libertarian Party would best fit at a local standpoint. I don't think they
Mm,
should be involved in national politics at all. It's a game they don't belong in. It's a game they can't afford
mm,
because at the end of the day, when in national politics, it's all money. And when you have, people like APAC giving tens of millions of dollars to a candidate, and you have somebody, who's a libertarian who's saying we need to end the banking system and APAC, well, guess who's going to get all the money? Not them. So the best thing libertarians can do in the United States, state, local. I don't see a need for them to run a president. I actually think it's stupid and a waste of time and resources because they're not even they're not even going to be seen. So what's the point? So why don't you get some really good people involved locally, whether it be in your, and the most important races too, like county commissioner, sheriff, school board, mayor, stuff like that. Why not take over those races, win those, and nullify yourself from the state? That's where you win. That's how you win. Being involved in national politics, they have no business being involved in, or they can take anything that they want or do whatever they want at will. That you have no chance. Look at what they did to my boy Larry Sharp in 2022. Larry Sharp, I had him on my show in 2023 to talk about it. Larry, they said, hey, Larry, he was a libertarian running for governor. They said, hey, Larry, you got to get X amount of dollars raised. You have to have X amount of signatures. He said, okay, bet. He did. He got his X amount of dollars and X amount of signatures. He came back to the powers that be. Yo, here you go. Oh, wait. We just changed the rules. You need a little more dollars and a little more signatures. Okay. He does it tenfold. He's got all his money, all his signatures. What happens? The New York GOP sues him to keep him off the ballot, and they win. And so he had to be a write-in candidate, even though he raised all his money and all his signatures. This is what they do to all third parties here in the United States. Guess how many people ran for president in 2020? How many people ran for president in 2020?
I'm going to say maybe 6.
Oh, no, you're not even close.
Oh.
Way up. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Because I know Libertarian Party, you have a Greens Party here too. Republicans, Democrats.
Green Party and constitutionalists and all that stuff.
Okay.
You have all that stuff.
And you can also write in the name of the person you want to be president too. We don't have that option in Australia. And we also have to vote. We get fined if we don't participate in the voting process.
Holy shit. That's fun.
Well, luckily for me, I didn't realize until I moved here, I don't have to vote. They give you the option if you move overseas that you don't have to participate in the voting process, or you can get a mail vote. And I just said, there's no one in that whole country that I would vote for. Not one candidate running in the election, which is on the 3rd of May, that I would vote for. So I'm glad that I can opt out. But I've had to move overseas to escape the violence of the voting process.
That's crazy. That's insane. But the fact of the matter is that over 1,500 people ran for president in 2020.
Wow.
1,500. How many people did we see on our ballot? Anywhere between 5 and 10, depending on where you are. Like, we pretty much have all the, considering this is communist Michigan, we actually have all the major parties on our ballot, whether it be Libertarian or Green Party, Tea Party, whatever. We have all those options on our ballot here in Michigan. But the fact of the matter is everybody doesn't. And they had 1,500 people running for president in 2020. Do you think 1,500 people out of 1,500 people, there wasn't 2 better choices than Donald Trump or Joe Biden? I would probably beg to differ on that. I bet you there was a lot more better choices than either of them 2 out of those 1,500. But because they're not under that Republican Democrat bubble, they don't get seen. And that's how it is here in the United States. And that's why libertarians don't get elected. That's one thing I learned through my podcast, is that running for office is one big fundraising mechanism, and whoever raises the most money wins. And that's really how it goes here, and I even had people like, God bless Michael White, one of my good friends. I talk to him daily. Michael White's great. Michael White had a race this past election cycle against a Democrat, 2-way race, him and a Democrat. He lost. But guess what he found? Some major, major, major election fraud things going on in his state. And guess what happened? He lost his race. He didn't even try to say it was stolen or anything. He said, "Hey, I lost my race, but this is what's going on." Guess who's the election commissioner in his county now? Michael White. Michael White is now the election commissioner in the county that he caught election fraud in.
Wow.
And this has gotten so big that federal prison, like this could be federal charges. People could be going to federal prison over this. And he caught it with his own eyes, with the help of some of his voters that wanted to vote for him and couldn't find him on the ballot because they were given, he happened to be in a place in a precinct where, or a spot where two different precincts were voting in the same place, and people were given the wrong ballots.
Mm.
And it was caught.
Well, I wonder what the consequences will be.
Who knows? It could be nothing.
Yes.
It could be nothing because the powers that be are the powers that be. Like his opponent, which I actually helped him find, thank God, because of a friend of mine. His opponent has CCP ties. China Communist Party ties. Ashley Hudson had communist ties to China, which linked to a guy named Voss in Wisconsin who got recalled.
Could be Australian candidate if they've got ties to the CCP.
So like they talk about the voting system and there being paper ballots and stuff. Like paper ballots are important. Hand counted paper ballots are important. They didn't have those in Mike's precinct. It was all computerized. All of it was computers. So when people like Donald Trump are like, we need paper ballots that are hand counted. Yes, I'm very much on board with that.
That's what we have in Australia. But at the last state election in Western Australia, the Electoral Commission, who are meant to run our elections, outsourced the election to a private company that had been donating money to the two major parties. So you've got a company that is meant to be running a fair and democratic election who is bankrolling the two major parties, and everyone, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. How can that be fair when you're donors to the parties and there's other parties contesting too who didn't get any money? It's just corruption right in front of your face, but there's no consequences. They're doing an inquiry, but nothing will ever come of it.
Welcome to American politics. Welcome to America. This is what it is every single day. Every single day. Like over 90% of our politicians are funded by APAC. I don't know the percentage of China that's involved in our government, but it's very real, especially within the GOP. Because I have friends within the GOP right now that are trying to burn it down because of that. Like that whole Voss thing I told you about in Wisconsin. Voss is a Republican backed by the CCP. Michael White's opponent, Ashley Hudson, is a Democrat funded by the CCP. Just like, Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, is funded by AIPAC, Israel. Just like, just to put in perspective, Marco Rubio or JD Vance or Donald Trump, they're all funded by AIPAC. So once foreign interest starts putting their money in our politicians' pockets, where does their alliance lie? That's where it gets weird. And that's why foreign money in your government, whether it's in Australia, America, Iraq, wherever it may be, if there's other countries funding your politicians, there's something to be said there, because where's their alliance at that point?
That's right. America first. Now, I just want to go through some more comments. So, Dilmaz, my mate in Australia, he said he just voted to boost our Freedom Cross bench, which is in the Senate. We are going to have 3 years of Albo minority, and he's the far left. Hopefully, people wake up by next cycle. I also think that Albo, our current Prime Minister, who's Labor, who you could compare to the Democrats, in conjunction with the Greens Party, who have been gaining traction in Australia. This is a scary thing. The culture in Australia of turning to the government to help us and save us is what we're seeing at the ballot box. Free this, we'll wipe your student debt. Exactly the same thing that we hear here is being parroted in Australia by the left, and they keep winning and growing. Terrifying. So I think you're right, Dilmaz, that we will see Albo in for another 3 years. And I don't think Australia is going to survive if we have them running the country for another 3 years. I'm not saying the Conservatives are better because they're just as commie as the left, but this is the problem we have in Australia. We don't have a clear choice of leader who will get us out of this mess. Whereas in America, I was here when President Donald Trump was running his campaign. I got to see him speak at the Libertarian Party National Convention. And the fact that you have someone like him, love him or hate him, the whole feeling of the American people for change, that's part of the psyche, just changing the hope that people have. That is huge. And coming from Australia, where we don't have any hint of that, no inspiring leaders are running in this election for any party. But at least here you have a character like Donald Trump. You've got RFK Jr., JD Vance, and yes, there is the issue with the influence on American politics from other countries. But just having these caliber of people get elected, have you seen since we went from Kamala Harris to Donald Trump a change in the culture of your society or the feeling in your society that America can find your way out of the mess?
I see a lot of Americans buying the hype. I don't see any actions that are going to live up to that hype, if that makes any sense. Like, actions speak louder than words. People can say whatever they want. And Donald Trump said some really, really, really good things. Don't get me wrong. And to be quite honest with you guys, I entertained voting for him. I did, especially when the free Ross stuff came out. I was like, man, this is a big deal or whatever. And as I'm at the polls, and the only reason I went to the polls in the first place was because I had friends on the ballot that I was like, yo, I'm going to vote for you guys. And then as I voted for them real quick, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do here? And I was like, no, I'm writing in Ron Paul. And that's what I did. I wrote in Ron Paul, and then for every other federal election, my mom got a vote, my dad got a vote, I got a vote, my dogs got a vote, my wife got a vote, whatever, because my principles tell me that there is never going to be a state solution. It's gone like that. And because if there was going to be a state solution, they would have had this shit figured out decades ago. Seriously, like they would have had all this bad shit figured out decades ago, and we would all be holding hands, singing Kumbaya and praise the Lord, and everything's going to be fine. And things are not fine, and things are not like that at all. And that's when my mind was like, no, there's no fixing this. We're not voting our way out of this. And the things we're not voting our way out of is endless war, endless spending, endless divide. Like, you can get Trump out there and be like, oh, these Democrats are so terrible. Democrats are bad and you shouldn't like them. He doesn't say that verbatim, but he pretty much does say that. Are Democrats really that bad? Democrat politicians, yeah, they're horrible. But Democrats as people, like, I come from a long line of Democrats. For crying out loud, my mother was named after Jackie Onassis, JFK's wife. And my uncle John was named after John Kennedy. This is where I come from. And had I lived back then, I would have 100% been a Kennedy Democrat, because they believed in individual liberty and stuff like that. These Democrats now, I don't even know what they are other than communists, but also as somebody who was raised Republican through the Southern Baptist Church, I'm looking at the Republicans going, these guys are socialists too. They're
Mm.
just a dubbed down version of it. So, like, where do we win in this picture? This is where my mind is where do people like you and me and my neighbors and my family and whoever, just the people of this nation or outside of this nation, where do we fit in? We don't. We don't fit in at all. And that's where my anarchist side comes in and says, well, it didn't work for this guy. It didn't work for that guy. It didn't work for this guy. And it's not working for this guy. It's not working. It's not working. The best thing we could do is free the markets and free the society. Free markets equal a free society. You know, and that's what Americans lack is a mind for economics. Economy and banking system and foreign policy are your nation's bread and butter. Like, that is how you run, that's how you work. This is what it is. If your country is invading countries at will on your dime with no rhyme or reason, that's wrong, which is what's happening in the United States. They go in there and they bomb all over these third world countries, which is kind of funny. We're the big bad United States with this massive army and we have all this money, right? But we're going to pick on this guy who has no money and the country is poor, and we're going to take it over and say they're the bad guys.
Mm.
You want to know? You want to know what's crazy? Let me ask you this question: what does Adolf Hitler, Muammar Gaddafi, and Saddam Hussein have in common? Those three have something very much in common that nobody knows about, and they're the bad guys, though. What did those three do? What did those three have in common?
Apart from being dictators?
Were they?
Well, no, because Hitler was elected through democracy. So, what do they have in common?
They all tried to leave the global monetary system that the United States runs.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
all did. Why did World War II happen? This is a fun thing, and this is what I can get away with saying on your show without getting you canceled. Why did the United States get involved in World War II? Most people are going to say, well, because the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and they had to get involved to save, you know, communism and freedom and whatever it may be.
That's what I was taught. That's about ideally, it's like I've been programmed with these answers, even though in my head I'm going, hang on, that's not true.
Same here. Same here.
Propaganda.
Same exact reason. But do you want to know the real reason the United States got involved in World War II?
Yes.
It had nothing to do with Pearl Harbor. They actually had intelligence, multiple intelligence from other countries even, that Pearl Harbor was going to happen. But they needed Pearl Harbor to happen to get the people behind getting them involved in the war, because people were very anti-war after World War I here in the United States. They wanted nothing to do with it. But the real reason the United States got involved in World War II is because Adolf Hitler had arrested Jewish bankers, including one of the Rothschilds. And anybody who's in the know in the liberty movement understands that the Rothschilds are one of the immediate evils of all things. That's why the United States got involved in World War II. It's because he arrested the banks. He arrested the banksters. Had nothing to do with him killing Jews. Nothing. Nothing at all. As a matter of fact, the Jew bankers didn't even care he was killing Jews. You know what I mean? And this is the things they don't tell you about in history. But this is real shit. This is real shit. All it takes is a little search on Google or FreeSpoke or DuckDuckGo or wherever you may go. And if you look in the right places, you're going to find it. But that's what happened in World War II. It had all to do with Hitler arresting the banksters, not necessarily killing the Jews.
There you go. You should do a history podcast.
I am honestly entertaining doing an encore Bud show, but I feel like what I'm going to have to say is going to ruin my opportunity for my rebrand.
Mm. Okay.
Because there's so much that goes with World War II outside of what I just told you
Mm.
that we shouldn't go into because I want you to keep your channel.
Okay.
I do know that. I mean that wholeheartedly. Like, I want you to keep your
Mm.
channel. I want you to keep doing what you're doing. If you ever wanted to have the conversation outside of this show, I would be glad to have it. And I would be glad to send you the receipts that came with it. But as far as
Mm.
this show goes, we want to keep your show going because you're doing an amazing thing. You're doing something that I've never seen done, honestly. You are somebody who came from a different country advocating for American values and then turned around and left. You left your place and was like, no, I don't want to be there no more. This is not okay. I'm coming here.
Mm.
That's based. That is awesome.
Thank you.
That is beyond awesome.
Thank you, sir. Well, this will lead into the next comment that I'll just bring up on the screen. I have been getting criticism for leaving Australia, a lot of criticism. It was even in the news over there that I'd left. And this person says, I don't see how running to the other side of the world is going to fix any problems. You can't run away from anything tough your whole life. Now, I have never run away from a fight because I was raised by my father to never start a fight unless you are provoked. And if you get in a fight, don't come home unless you win. So that's how I've been raised. I'm Irish Italian. I'm not going to walk away or
Me
run away from
too.
any confrontation. Oh, there you
You're,
go. I think we're
you're,
the same person.
you're a McWop too.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh my God. This is great. This is great. You're a McWop. I love it. I'm a McWop myself. We're allowed to say these things because we're McWops.
And because we have the First Amendment here, so you can't be using hate speech laws against me. I'm in America now. But this is the kind of comments I've been getting, not from everyone back home, but saying you have to stay here and fight in the trenches with us, even if you can't afford a house, even if you're living on the road, you have to stay here. You can never leave. Now, that's something that a cult would tell you. You can't leave us, you have to stay. So I'm kind of been I feel like, and another comment after this said, for Kate, she will be able to grow a lot faster in her sphere when it comes to firearms than she ever could from Australia. Any change in Australia needs to be echoed in the US media to get the reach. And that is something that I am very conscious of about. And it's one of the reasons that I decided to move here because I have been cancelled, I have been shadow banned, I have been smeared in the media, I have been defamed in the media, I have been exiled from the shooting organizations there who always seem to benefit whenever there's new gun laws. They keep growing in money and members because we're forced to join their clubs as part of the new laws. It's a racket. Can you not see that? So I'm getting these criticisms about the fact that I've left. But how can I stay in a country, which, by the way, my grandfather escaped fascist Italy to move to Australia for a free life. And I've left Australia after he did that voyage to move here. It's no small decision that I've made, and I miss my family every day. I don't want to think about it or I'll get emotional. But how am I meant to advance liberty, succeed as a person, have my own family? I'm married now. I met my husband at the Libertarian National Convention. He's from Australia too. He's here with me. I
Axel,
can.
what's up, baby?
Axel's here. Yes, he's my Jamie for the night. But how I just want Australians to think, well, what would you do? And it was a lot. It was a lot to get out of the system, to unsubscribe from being part of that, because everyone has a government job or they're paid for, their contracting job is paid for by the government. It's all interlinked, and I did not want to be a part of that, let alone not having my First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights. So I've moved to a place where the values align with me, but apparently some people are saying that's running away. What do you think? Should I go back? What should I how do I make people happy?
No,
What
no,
should
no.
I do?
Hey guys. Anybody who has a problem with Kate leaving Australia and trying to get maximum freedom that she can have, you're fake. You're not real. This isn't you're not living in a real life. If you want to stay there and have your government protect you, which they're not going to, because at a certain point, all the rights you're advocating for against your enemies, they're going to come fucking get your rights too, dude. It's only a matter of time. So, hey, be mad. Be mad. I hope you're mad. Stay mad. Stay mad. And maybe someday you'll be bad enough to come here too. But do not ever, ever, ever talk shit on somebody who stuck up for your rights, whether she agreed with you or not. She fought for your rights, not just hers. And that says a lot. So, hey, if you want to be mad because she came here to the States, be fucking mad. Have at it, dude. She's welcome with open arms here. Hi, friend.
Aww.
No, seriously, though. No, seriously. You guys have no idea how bad. If you are mad for her leaving the situation you guys are in over there, you have no idea how bad things really are. You have no idea. You're clueless. And you need to wake up to it. And your ass will be here too. And we'll welcome you too. But until then, keep your mouth shut because you don't know no better.
Thanks, Sean. It has been hard leaving. I'm not going to lie. It was a big decision to make. But I had to do what was right for me, my family, my future. And I feel like I can do so much more from here. It's just been, the people here have been so welcoming, so supportive. It's honestly just, I feel blessed every day to wake up in the USA. I'm sorry if that sounds lame.
Oh, that's awesome. I love to hear that. And I want to keep this place, from my end of things, I want to keep this place something you can be proud of and somewhere you can be safe from your own home. Like you uprooted and left everything. People think that's just something you just up and live. They're retarded. It's not real life. That is a big deal to uproot and just leave everything that you know. So obviously something is very wrong. Why can't people understand that liberty is the only solution? Here's the thing. There's liberty and there's tyranny and there's no gray area. It's all black and white. You either want to be free or you want to be a slave. And that's a hard one for Americans to swallow. Is that you're either going to be free or you're going to be a slave. We're not slaves. Oh, is that so? Talk to the tax man then and tell me you're not a slave. Because every form of taxation is slavery. I don't care if it's an income tax or a property tax or a state tax or a grocery tax or any type of tax. That is slavery. That is something to keep you down, to take your money, to keep you subservient to the state. Here in America, our politicians are paid employees. The only problem is with that is that Americans have stopped treating them that way. But our taxes, they extort my money. I'm self-employed. If I told you how much money I pay in taxes every year, you guys would shit in your pants, I promise you. I'm self-employed. They take a lot. I get hit with a 15% self-employment tax right off the rip before I even pay any other type of taxes. Yeah, be self-employed. It's the American dream. It's so great. Is it? Is it so great? I saw somebody be like, I just paid $4,000 in taxes and I'm so mad. And I laughed at that. $4,000 in taxes? Okay. Okay, dude. Cool. I mean, I'd be mad about that too. I'd be mad about $1 in taxation. But for somebody like me who has a painting business who does pretty well, $4,000 is kind of a joke. And for what? For them to give all my money away to other countries to fund gender studies in Sudan or to fund wars to kill brown children in the desert. That's what I want my taxes to pay for. At least if you're going to extort my money, I don't want any people living under bridges just down the road on 8 Mile, because that's where I live, is just down the road from the infamous 8 Mile that y'all saw with Eminem and shit. That's where I live, is just a couple miles away from that. And we got people living under bridges there. I'd rather see my tax dollars taking care of them, or taking care of my best friend who happens to be a veteran, who was in the Army for 20 years as a ranger, and was dodging bullets and has lost his hearing and has his knee blown out from being blown up all the time. I'd rather see my fucking tax dollars taking care of those people if we're going to pay taxes. Or if I'm going to pay taxes, I want my roads to be pristine, which is, what about the roads? What about the roads? Have you ever been to Detroit, Michigan, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to tell you something right now. Detroit roads are the absolute worst roads in the United States of America. But I'm getting taxed to pay for them. I'm getting taxed. I don't smoke anymore, but there's a cigarette tax for the roads. There's a gas tax for the roads. And they want to tax me on top of that for the roads? No, 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 no.
Well, speaking of taxes, I don't know if you've seen, but Dan Taxation is Theft Berman, who is the owner of Blood of Tyrants, the company that I work for over here. We just, yes, cheers to our empty bottles. That went pretty quick.
Like, what happened? What happened? I have no idea what happened, but we're going to pretend it happened. Be like, wow, there's some left. Ooh, and those are old.
Oh, no.
Anywho.
Well, we've started the Taxation is Theft podcast. We went live last Monday. We go live every Monday night from around 6:30 my time, depending when Dan gets here. He's got a beautiful baby boy now. So he's a dad. Yes, he's adorable. He's a little anarchist. He was born and he had his middle finger up. So I think he's...
Nice.
I think
he's a dog right there.
Yeah. So we do that show every Monday. We have to get you on because your rant about taxation and your whole explanation of economics and what the government is doing to us with money, it's something that I've tried to get out in Australia, but we're just ignorant and people don't take time to read like I do. Basic economics, of course, is a big one, but I've learned a lot from Safadine Amos. Some of his books have just completely opened my mind to taxation and how important economic freedom is for liberty. So you'll have to come on that show when you're ready to...
Actually, I know Dan. Like, I've talked to Dan before. I believe we're Twitter homies still, unless he got mad at me at some point. I don't know. I don't think he did, though. I don't think so. Usually if somebody gets mad at me, they have to tell me. They're like, bro, you did this and you're bad and I'm done with you. I haven't got that from him yet. So, and he's one of my OG followers, as a matter of fact. Dan Taxation is Theft. I believe he's one of, I want to say he's within my first 100 or 200 followers on X.
I'm not surprised. You do some great work.
We need to, what we need to do as liberty-minded people is, and this is my anarchist side of things, is really deviate from the political solution of things. Because the political solution of things have led us to the Libertarian Party endorsing Donald Trump. And whether you're for that or against that or whatever, that was not a good place to go. Now, I understand not endorsing the presidential candidate of the Libertarian Party. I do understand that because I probably have the same feelings that you all did on why they didn't do that. But that doesn't mean make love to the enemy. That doesn't mean, let's go after this guy. And did Trump freed Ross? Fuck yeah, dude. That was so amazing. Like, if that is one thing that came out of everything, like, I can't look, I got hair on my arm standing up right now because I've been talking about free Ross for a long time, but that can't just be the only thing you stand on. That can't just be like, and we're finally, thank God, I'm seeing libertarians finally speak out and be like, hey, I didn't necessarily vote for this, or I didn't vote for that. Because for a long time, it was libertarians doubling down, going, well, it's better than Kamala Harris. Ooh. And I'm like, I'm not going to say it wasn't better than her, but like, it's the same. You know, we need to, as libertarians or anarchists or anybody who's actually liberty minded, and let's get this out of the way right now. What is the meaning of liberty? The meaning of liberty means that people have the liberty to do things that you do not agree with. That's the exact meaning of liberty. Now, moving forward, that doesn't mean endorse the guy that, who wants to take the guns first and then due process. That's not cool. I know you're not cool with that. And he said that a few years ago, and then all of a sudden he's on camera with Pam Bondi, the AG, going, "Hey, we need to take the guns first." And I'm going, "Hey, dog, guns ain't going nowhere. I don't know what to tell you, but like, guns ain't going nowhere. You ain't taking shit first. And if you think you're going to take shit first, you're going to be met with some resistance." And that's another thing that libertarians need to stop with. They're saying, "Oh, we lost all our guns in a boating accident or in a camping or whatever." No, people need to know you're armed and dangerous. People need to know that. You're a peaceful person. I'm a peaceful person. I'm very peaceful. But the moment you try to come around here and take what's mine or fuck with my family, no, all bets are off. I'm not peaceful anymore. And that's what libertarians need to start saying is like, hey, we are armed, we are peaceful, but we can be very dangerous. Do not play games with us and our rights or with our community or anything like that. We need to stop this nonsense of we lost our guns. We didn't lose shit. We have them. We are going to use them. Do not play games with us.
Yeah, I'm so excited about going up to Porkfest. I think I'm going there with the Blood of Tyrants trailer for some thirsty people. We're going to have a cocktail bar. We've been planning some special Aussie version of cocktails that I want people to try. So I'll be going up to Porkfest in June. I cannot wait to be back there. Anyone interested in the Liberty community, I highly recommend going to Porkfest in New Hampshire. It's an incredible experience. You almost feel like you finally found all of your people in one place. It was really special going last time. Have you been to Porkfest?
I have not been to Porkfest.
No, you should come this year.
I can't come this year because I'm already doing something else that is here in Michigan, the Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival, which is Michigan's version of Porkfest. And we are going to have speakers, and we are going to have performers and do all kinds of stuff, and it's going to be awesome.
Is that the same date?
It's in July. It's a month later.
Oh, I might have to come to Detroit finally.
July 24th to 27th or something like that. I can put up a link later. But no, we have the Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival. One of the local restaurant owners puts the whole thing on. It's going to be in Gregory, Michigan. It's not going to be in Detroit. But it's just a bunch of anarchists, agorists. Some libertarians will be there. And it's just us hanging out, same type of thing, doing freedom shit and liberty shit and just, spreading the word and having a little fun on, whatever. I can't pull off both just because I can't. My wife's in school. I got to be home for David Bowie and Penny Lane. At least David Bowie and Penny Lane can come with me to MPLF. But no, like, these are the things, though, like, whether it's Porkfest or MPLF, these are the things that people need to get involved in and just to see, just talk to people. Just talk to people outside of your normal brain that says, well, the state says this, so we should probably do this. There's so many solutions outside of the state that are much more economical, much more feasible to the normal person than state solutions have ever been. Like we could literally cut their legs off. We could cut the legs off the state very easily in little communities at a time. We could be like, hey, we're not going to comply. We're not going to do this. As a matter of fact, we're going to allow our businesses to have precious metals as currency or crypto, if that's what you're into. I'm not a crypto guy, but like, hey, if you're a crypto Bitcoin person or whatever, like the MPLF people, they actually have a restaurant in not too far from my house. They accept Bitcoin. Cool. Right on, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff like that. It's little things that you can do to cut their fucking knees off from right off underneath them, which is by supporting black markets. And as bad as that may sound, hey, guess what? Your black market's your farmer's market. Your black market is the kids selling, lemonade on the corner. Your black market is your neighbor who has a chicken coop selling you eggs. I'm not saying go buy a bunch of illegal guns and do shit like that, which I don't believe that there are illegal guns anyways. But anyways, I'm just covering my tracks before the feds kick my door in. But like, you can do this shit. You can do all these things locally. You can buy your dog food, your food. You can buy from farmers. Buying from a farmer, you could buy. I go in on a cow with a buddy once a year. Me and a buddy, we each buy half a cow. We buy the same cow. Boom, boom. We have to split the brisket. Either one person gets the brisket or the other. It depends on the year. But like, that is black market shit. That is something that you are not paying taxes on. That is something that is taking away from them. This is what I'm talking about, supporting black markets. That's what it's about. Zack Attack, July 24th to 27th. I saw that. That is
there it is.
That is MPLF. That is July 24th to 27th. That is the Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival. Gregory, Michigan. Reach out to me. I have contacts to all the people. I'm on a group chat with all those guys. So,
Yes, I'll have to bring the Blood of Tyrants trailer up there.
Bring Dan, bring Axel. I want to meet Axel. Axel, where are you?
He's great. I know Mr. Liberty. He's so excited to be
Mr. Liberty, where are you, my dog?
Here, come pop your head in.
Get in here. Get in here right now.
He's not dressed up.
I don't
Sunday.
care.
It's fine. Here he is.
What's up, dog? My dude, I used to have hair like that, and now I look like this.
I'm jealous of your hair.
There was one time I was a long-haired ginger. It's salt and paprika now.
ZZ Top beard.
Yeah, ZZ Top beard.
That's base, dude. I love it.
Got to blend in Texas.
You guys, well, I don't know if you were dating when she was on my show last year, but I kind of had a feeling you were. I could tell. I could see these things.
Well, we only met in Washington, D.C. It's so crazy. We had to come all the way from Australia to meet each other at a bloody libertarian convention.
Well, he didn't come with you?
No, he came separately. We didn't. He was following me in Australia because he was part of the Libertarian Party, and he's not anymore.
I thought you guys came here together.
No, we only met in D.C.
Come on.
After Trump spoke at the emo night karaoke party.
And then you ran to Vegas and got married. Holy shit.
And then we got married 2 months later in Vegas. So
how American.
Yeah.
Seriously, how American.
We feel like we are Australians trapped. We're Americans trapped in Australian bodies.
I love it, man. I love it. That's based. I didn't know that. I thought you guys came here together and were traveling together. I had no idea. Wow.
Yes, it's a Hallmark story. We should really make it into a movie. It's very special. And I have to give a shout out to my mates from Punk Rock Libertarians. They're the ones who introduced us. Yes. Yes. Otto, and all the boys. Babs, James Babs, he's my favorite. I've got such a crush on Babs. Not in that way, but I just idolize him. He'll be at Porkfest. I can't wait to see him. There's so many good people in America.
I love Ben. Ben was on my show right around the same
time.
Oh,
Ben, the emo ANCAP. Yes.
Ben, that's dude. That's good people. He just had a kid,
yes.
with this group. Man, that's awesome. I love the connections that we make through all this. You know what I'm saying? And it's
I never thought. I'm just a country girl from the bloody outback in South Australia. I would never have thought I would be doing a podcast one day with a top bloke from Detroit talking about liberty, anarchism, how to be happy and free. This is just, it's a dream come true. So thank you so much for being my first guest on my American live stream on Sunday. I'll be doing them every Sunday night. It's going to be hard to top this. You've been one of my favorite shows that I've ever been on. I just love the way you think and how you speak, and you've done so much. so much as an individual to educate others about liberty. So what's your next plans? Podcast starting up again?
Wow. Let me just soak that in for a minute, because I'm not used to people saying that so many nice things about me. Wow. Thank you so much. And you have been an absolute gem yourself. Like, people have no idea how much you are like here. Like, they don't even know. Like, you came from a land down under. You know what I'm saying? And you were over there and you were doing your thing and you ran for office and you advocated for all the things freedom and liberty. And then you came here to the United States to escape what was inevitable over there, because I don't think they're going to make the turnaround there. I really don't. I don't think it's happening. So God bless you for coming here. You made the right choice, honestly. But we have to, people like me need to fight to make sure people like you have a safe place to stay before we turn into whatever they're doing over there, because we're not far fetched from that. We're really not. So we need to not only join forces, but we need to double down and we need to knuckle up. The fight is far from over, and it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a real fight. It's going to be, Zach Attack, love you, dog. He says, good conversation, y'all. Zach Attack, y'all need to follow the Legacy Right on X. He's the next up and comer, honestly. He's doing some good stuff. Him and Andrew, they have done some cool shit, and they're really kind of finding their vibe and stuff. Follow them, Legacy Right on X.
He's also said Scarlett and Maze will become a reality. I'll force Sean's hand.
Oh my God.
What is this about? Have I missed something?
This has to do with the biggest rivalry in sports, which happens in Michigan and Ohio State college football. He's from Ohio. He happens to be in Indy now, but he's from Ohio. He's an Ohio State fan, which Ohio State's gay. But anyways, sorry, dude. I'm just saying, man. Ohio's the armpit of society, and that's that. If you come from Michigan, you will understand that real quick. Like, Ohio is.
I've actually been to Ohio. I went to Cincinnati for Sad Summer Festival because I'm a bit of an emo chick as well. So I've been to Cincinnati and Cleveland.
Cleveland's they got the Warehouse District.
And the Rock Museum, Rock and Roll.
Oh, yeah.
Museum. I went there.
Oh, yeah. But Ohio still sucks. If you're from Michigan, you only understand if you're from Michigan. Ohio's a dump. But anyways, Zach, I love you, even though you're from there. He wants to do a podcast about college football. That's the Scarlet and Maize. So Scarlet is the Ohio State colors. Maize and blue is Michigan.
Okay. I still haven't been to a footy game over here. I've been to baseball, which is kind of like our cricket because you can get on the beers and go in and out and you don't really miss much. So I like going to the baseball. I don't know if that's offensive. Sorry, but that's what cricket is like and is in Australia. You just get pissed.
That's actually hilarious.
And I've been to the basketball, which is just so entertaining. Well, I'm in San Antonio, so I have to go for the Spurs. I don't have a choice.
You got to come to Detroit and see some football, some American football, because our team is actually kick-ass right now, and your guys' teams down there are not. So get up here and see some real American football right now while you still can. And
have you ever watched Aussie Rules footy, AFL?
I'm actually a big soccer fan.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I do soccer too. Well, it's the WOG thing. We have to watch soccer.
So my first sponsor ever happens to be the Infinite Zeal. You probably know him, Joel Ellenwood on X. Everybody knows Joel. He went by the Infinite Zeal for the long time. It's still his @ handle, I believe. But he was my first sponsor for Buds ever. And he's a big soccer guy. And when I was laid up in the hospital, a couple years ago, I was in bad shape, and all there was on TV was like World Cup. So I'm like, I'm watching soccer, dog, and it's great. And he's like, yeah, dude. And he's like, no, you got to watch this, this, and this, though, because American soccer sucks compared to like Premier League and all that stuff. Like Americans, like MLS soccer, Major League Soccer is a joke, honestly, compared to European, South American soccer or football, whatever you want, football, whatever you want to call it. Even Australia, you guys have that, it's a thing there too. Let me ask you something. Is Australia run by England? Is that like an English territory?
We are still part of the Commonwealth, so we still pledge allegiance to the King, who owns our hands, and he also owns, we've got Crown law there, so he owns everything under the first inch of, we only own that much of the soil, so we don't have property rights at all in Australia. It all belongs to the King.
Interesting. And you just kind of answered my question. So glad you got out.
Yeah. We need a 1776. We need to throw our beers in Sydney Harbour or something.
Especially like, oh my God. Especially being Irish, like England can fuck off.
Yeah.
Seriously, England can fuck right off, dude. They still have control of Northern Ireland. And actually, there's a lot of unrest right now there in Northern. Like the Irish are starting to get mad again. And I'm like, well, you want to know what, you guys? If you want to see what real Republicans do, just see what they're doing in Ireland right now. Because they're going to blow up your fucking car. They're going to blow up your car, and there's going to be some shit. Because, like, woo! Oh, man, I love Irish history. Did you know that Murray Rothbard, are you a Rothbardian?
Yes.
Have you ever read For a New Liberty?
No. I need to put that on my list.
You need to put that on your list immediately.
Okay.
But in that book, he speaks of 17th century Ireland, who was a stateless society for 1,000 years. Anarchy in Ireland. One of the only anarchist societies ever put down or written on paper or talked about. But yeah, and they had the, oh my God. Oh, the Tuathas, the Tuathas were like the citizen police who knew the laws of the land and took care of the people who were doing bad shit. And then they had the Brehons, who was like the jury of the state, who all knew the laws of the land. And it all worked, and they made it work for 1,000 years, right? And the only reason England took over, and it took them 2 centuries to take Ireland, was because there was no governments to make a deal. That is anarchy on paper in the real world. Rothbard talked about that in For a New Liberty, one of my favorite books of all time. I'm a big Rothbard guy, huge. Rothbard is like, when it comes to Austrian economics, a lot of people be like, Mises. It was Rothbard for me. And I'm going to tell you why. Is because Rothbard was an actual anarchist, to where Mises was anti-anarchy. And I appreciate Mises. Mises is, I have his work. Like, he was a great Austrian economist or whatever. But when it came to actual like freedom, he was very much against the anarchist side of things, to where Rothbard wasn't. And that's why I'm a huge Rothbardian outside of Mises.
Well, we have been going for nearly, how long? 3 hours? Bloody hell. Thank you so much. Yeah. Over 2 hours.
2 hours, yes.
Yes, thank you so much again for joining me on my first show from America. Like I said, I'm just so excited and happy to be here. I cannot wait to get involved in the Liberty community here. I've joined the Texas Libertarian Party. I've already got involved with them. They have a council election here on the 3rd of May. So I'm going to help the boys try and get someone elected at the local level. Like you said, I believe that too. That's where we can make the most effective change, is as local as possible. And I'll be heading up to Pork Fest. I'll see if I can come to Michigan for your festival. I've got the dates there, so I'll have a chat to the boss man and see if he'll give me some more blood of tyrants to take up there, because there's a lot of blood of tyrants that needs drinking. And yes, that is a euphemism. So Sean, before I let you go, is there anything else, any inspiring words, or what about some advice for me living in the land of the free?
I want to say a couple things actually. For you, embrace this and really grab a hold of it and just enjoy it. Honestly, this is, as much as I bitch about this nation and about how much I am disheartened with it, this is still the best goddamn place in the world to be in. There's nowhere better, honestly. Maybe Argentina, I don't know. Well, I haven't been down there, but Malay's my dog. But just enjoy some freedom. Enjoy, go buy guns. Buy lots of guns and more ammo, and do that, and also, just as far as the liberty movement goes, make sure you're for liberty and not whatever they're trying to sell you. I'm not a big fan of the Libertarian Party right now. And that's because of their actions with the current president of the United States. Not to say that, like I said, I don't understand, or I do understand the coalition itself, but I don't understand the person it's with. And to each their own, whatever. A lot of people might look at me and be like, well, that guy's an idiot, or he's a left-leaning libertarian. I'm not a left-leaning anything, or I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a Republican, a Democrat, an independent. I'm an anarchist. I don't see any state solutions whatsoever. We're not going to get through this through the state. We're going to get through this through property rights and individual freedom. That's how we get through this. But that's my own thing. But thank you so much for having me on. This was awesome, dude. This was very cool. Thank you for bringing me out of my hiatus. It's been a while. I hope I was a good guest and not too much of a rambler or a gambler or an asshole or whatever, but thank you.
You were fantastic. Exactly the kind of person I thought I would get from Detroit. I cannot wait to come up there. You just seem like such a top bloke. Thank you again for joining me on Sunday night. I'll be back every Sunday night with a different exciting guest from America, because I'm here now. I'm just so excited to be here. It's honestly a blessing to be in the best country in the world. And as much as I love Australia, I hate the government there, and I could no longer stay and live like that anymore. I have freed myself from the tyranny of Australia, but I will be doing everything I can, especially for the gun owners back there. I'm still doing the legal action challenge against the state in Western Australia. I've been working on that while doing my new job as well. I haven't run away and left you all there. I will do everything I can. Maybe one day we'll have a President Lady Liberty of Australia. I'll finally free everybody. These are the kind of dreams I have.
That would be based. That would be based. I would love that.
I'll need some of my American mates to help me. You'll have to come across to Australia and liberate everyone peacefully, of course. I'm thinking.
It's hard to pass up tasty beaches and waves.
Oh, I guess I miss the beach.
That's one thing. And we even talked about that when you were on my show the last time. I used to think Australia was this very happy place with tasty waves and crocodile hunters and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden COVID came, and I was like, Jesus Christ, what the hell happened there? So
yeah,
no, I would love for you to be the president of that place. Let's do this. I would work your campaign from here.
Let's go. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. But for now, I'm going to enjoy being in the USA with Mr. Liberty and all my friends here. So thanks again, Sean. Please get your podcast going again or some form of show because
There's
you're
a
just such a
rebrand
talent.
coming. There is a rebrand coming, you guys.
Yay.
I promise. It's not going to be so political. The one thing I did need to leave was the all political side of things, because the original Bud show was supposed to be about a variety of topics. It really was sports and pop culture and music and stuff like that. And it just never happened. The politics took over, and that's my fault. That's my fault. But at the end of the day, like when you're blackpilling your audience, you're blackpilling yourself. And that's not good for anybody's mental health. Like there's good things that happen in life too. Like there's David Bowie's, there's dogs, and there's there's music, and there's a lot of cool shit that happens in the world that we could talk about too. It doesn't have to be just doom and gloom all the time and how bad the government is and whatever. Like we can actually shut all of that out and just live our lives and be happy. We can shut all of that out and make our own communities and just be happy with our dogs and families and kids and rock and roll and whatever, maybe hip hop, whatever, dude. Like aliens, like we could talk about all that shit. Like it doesn't have to be politics 24/7 because it's not healthy. It's really not. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me, and I had to shut it down. I literally quit my podcast on a whim. I was like thinking about what I was going to do for the show for the week. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. This is bad. Like, I can't keep doing this because what I'm doing to them is what I'm doing to me. And you got to take care of yourself too. You know? And there's much more to life than just like being anti-government. There really is. Like, there's so much cool shit going on. Like, dude, we could talk about drinks and blood of tyrants and whatever, dogs and cats and moms and dads, like cool shit. There's so much cool shit. Mountain climbing, whatever it may, rattlesnakes. I don't know. But like, there's more to life than just be like, well, the government's bad because they did this, this, and this. Like, people get sick of hearing that shit. I get sick of hearing that shit. So let's just fucking have a party and talk about all of it, and just have fun. And that's going to be the rebrand. It's not going to be Buds in Reality anymore. That's done. And as a matter of fact, when I do the encore Buds in Reality show, that's going to be the nail in the coffin on it because I'll probably get kicked off of every single streaming platform there is. And I'm going to be glad to do it. And I'm going to come in with something fresh and something new and something much more fun. And that's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to talk about this shit every single week. We could talk about bubblegum bomb pops. But rock and roll, Kate, thank you so much. You're awesome. Follow this girl. Subscribe to her channel. Get to know her. Get to love her. She is here in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Kate Fatnell, Lady Liberty. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go. Yay. I am coming to Michigan for that Liberty event. I've already told my boss, Dan, I'm coming. So I will meet you in person. I cannot wait. Give you the biggest hug. We might have to share a smoke because you become one of my best mates here.
Buds for no reason. Let's go.
All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in to my Sunday night show, Shooting the Breeze, tonight with my mate Sean from Buds in Reality podcast. Keep an eye out for his encore episode and then what he does next. As you've seen tonight, he's just a great speaker. He's so intelligent. He's so committed to freedom for everyone. And I thank you again, Sean, for joining me tonight on the show. I'll just pray the outro and then I'll just have a quick chat with you off air because I want to say thank you again. So thanks, everyone, for listening. See you next week. Well, see you tomorrow night. Monday night, I do Taxation is Theft podcast with Dan. Taxation is Theft Berman. So I'll be back on the air tomorrow. Good night, everyone, and good morning, Australia.